The courage to quit. I think this doesn't get talked about a lot because we have quitters are losers meta going on. Everyone's saying, don't quit, don't be a quitter, keep sticking through it. It's the person that stays to the end that gets it. Every quitter, never realize it. As long as you don't quit, you will succeed. All of this. And while some of this might be true, and a lot of people need the advice of just like, stop giving up so early, stick through the hard stuff because anything worthwhile is hard. All of this is true, but like with any useful advice in life, there is a flip side. And I actually think this is a true sign of like genuine intelligence in a person when they can understand nuanced points and both sides of the equation that are contradictory, that are paradoxical, right? So for example, another one of my favorites is be yourself, right? You can see how be yourself is the best advice, but also might be interpreted in the wrong way and become a very useless advice. And if you can understand both sides of the equation at the same time when they are contradictory, it's a sign that you're an intelligent person, that you've kind of grabbed life, the situations of life in the right way. I hope, you're one of these people. And the same is true of quitting. So we're told from a young age to not quit. And especially when we get into like jobs and things like this, there's this fear of quitting because we think, oh, that means I'm a failure. Oh, that means I've given up. That means I didn't have willpower or resilience. And so you feel bad about the prospect of quitting, and you try to pat yourself on the back for staying in something, when for a lot of people, staying in that thing is doing them no good, is actually making them feel worse. It's actually increasing their anxiety, and they maybe just daydream about the fact that they want to quit, but they're scared of what might happen after, right? So, of course, there's the other side. There's like, let's talk about quitting your job. Of course, it's not as easy as just, okay, I'm just going to quit. Okay, then what happens to my family? I got to have an income. What happens to my rent? What happens to my bills? Right? So I realized this is a complex issue. And actually, because of that very thing, quitting is often the hardest thing to do, or more accurately, quitting requires more courage than continuing. Quitting requires more courage than continuing. You see how that's a flip in what is often told, which is that quitting is for losers. Quitting means you are, you don't have grit. Quitting means you don't have the courage to carry on. They kind of want to do this because then you can become a worker in their little company, right? It's a good mentality to start spreading into the world so that you become humble, obedient servants to that little project. And quitting is naturally tied to anxiety and uncertainty. So you're scared of this, so you don't want to do it. And that's precisely why it takes courage to quit. And so this video is kind of about that. And I want to tell you a story of when I quit my PhD, okay? There was literally nobody except one, in fact, two people that encouraged me to do this. It was my brother and my best friend. And nobody else, everybody else was saying, how can you quit when you're like 1.5 years in? All you have to do is just this one thing, and then you'll have a PhD, you'll have so much more job opportunities, people are going to respect you more. We still live in a society where these kinds of titles matter, so you should do this and that. This is what I was being told, right? PhD means so much more than a master's. What about all the things you've done until now to get it? The sunk cost fallacy, right? We've sunk stuff in their time and money. We might as well finish it. The might as well. Guys, be very wary of that phrase. Might as well. Might as well. It can ruin your life. And so what happens is I'm in this PhD and I no, that is not my path. And I've talked about this in many videos, so I won't go long into it. But basically, it was so not aligned that I was waking up in the middle of the night with my heart beating really fast. It was like my body telling me, dude, what the hell are you doing here? And as this is happening, I'm really just trying to consider it, but I was scared because I didn't know, like, wait, I'm going to be like 29, I'm going to be approaching 30. At least if I have a PhD, I look like I'm doing something. Not many people have a PhD. Not many people are in a PhD. So it means that I'm like intelligent, right? It means that I've done something with my life. It means that my late 20s haven't been a wasteful few years. It means that and that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to uphold an identity. I was trying to uphold an image that would make me feel worthwhile, while at the same time realizing deep down that staying in that thing was doing me more harm than good. And it felt like I was in a train that I didn't know where it was going, right? You don't know the destination, and you also don't like the destination. The whole direction that it's going, you don't like, and you don't know where the end point is, but you're kind of just on the train because you feel like if you change trains or you're off the train, you'll be left behind in the desert by yourself. That's kind of a good metaphor for how I was feeling. And in this instance, when everybody is telling you to continue, when the whole world is set up so that you feel awkward if you fall behind, then what is the courageous thing to do? It's to quit. What is the easy, comfortable thing to do? The safe thing to do is to just continue, right? It's just to continue and just do the PhD and be like, yeah, I got the PhD. Now let's do this other thing that I was supposed to do. This is why I think 90+% of the people are continuing to stay in relationships, in jobs, in whatever bloody situation you find yourself in, right? And it's almost like the justification that you use is to say, oh, well, quitting is not good, right? I'm sticking through it because I've got grit, because I've got responsibilities, And you need to be really careful to think, is this an excuse or is this a genuine responsibility? And sometimes they are both. And let me explain. You might have a responsibility to make a certain amount of income, and therefore you stay at your current job. But that responsibility is also the excuse you use to justify going through that thing when you know you want to quit, when you know you don't want to do it, right? Because the opposite of quitting your job is not that you're just going to be broke for the rest of your life, right? I mean, that's what you're saying to yourself so that you stay in the job. You magnify the fear so you don't ever take that action because you're scared more of the uncertainty and the anxiety. But what lies on the other side might be something totally different that makes you way more money, way more. Or maybe a bit less, but makes you way healthier and happier. And you've seen so many people go through this transition. And it's something cool happens when you quit something, which is that you almost let everyone down, right? Or your family, your friends, like yourself. You let everyone down, and it's the best thing that can ever happen because your ego goes to the floor and it feels shit in the moment. But that is what allows you to start from a clean slate and find what it is that you actually want, not what all these other expectations of people wanted for you, right? So an ego death of that kind is actually good for you. Now, to go back to the original point, you use that responsibility thing as a way to not do it. But like I said, you don't know that you're not going to make it out the other side with better opportunities. And oftentimes you will if you quit and experience that kind of anxiety. Because it is in that pain that you're going to do a lot of the original thinking that's going to lead you to a direction. And you have to trust that on the other side, there'll be people that love you for the new you or the real you, I should say. The you that you've always been. There'll be people on the other side that appreciate you for that. Now, I've talked in terms of jobs, but this applies to relationships. This applies to even little things like within your job. Maybe within your job, you have multiple things, and you're just not quitting this one project because you've sunk too much into it, when the best thing is, like, your gut's telling you this project it could be just deleted and you could do another thing. Or like, you could be doing something in one way, you could quit that and do something in a completely different way. So it might be the way in which you do stuff, it might be the project within the job, it might be the job within itself, it might be the relationship that you're in. And I would say the same thing if it was about a relationship. It's like, you're scared if you will ever be able to find another person who is as attractive as your current partner, who is as this and as that as this current partner, right? It's the exact same thing. But you have to trust that there'll be people on the other side. When you make the transformation, there'll be other people on the same side. So another example is when I was doing my master's, I actually had a crack at trying to make YouTube videos. Okay, I've never actually shared this story. I don't know why it just came to me, but I was in Hungary, Budapest, and I was traveling with these like classmates and stuff. And I started recording like YouTube video on my phone with this like long ass like selfie handle. And to be honest, I was a little bit, maybe I chose the wrong time. I was a bit obnoxious, just like really just like doing it like a bit like a tourist, and maybe my classmates didn't like it. But basically the people that were actually like my friends, like quite close to me at the time, they kind of looked down on the whole content creation aspect. They kind of made it seem as if I was not cool for doing this. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've probably been in scenarios like this where like just they're kind of not encouraging you. Instead of being like, wow, that's cool, like, what's up? Because I wasn't like offensive or anything. It was more just them trying to just like, oh, that's like, why are you doing that? Right? Now, that actually was not the reason, but it was, I guess, one of the reasons why I didn't start creating content from that year, let's say, right? Now, if I stayed with that, if I thought that the whole time, and I didn't trust that me just going full me would have people on the other side appreciating me, I would never have taken the leap to actually make the content, right? So me quitting academia, me going through all the things that I went through, the military and all this kind of stuff, and coming out and making content and being really anxious about, is anyone ever going to watch this? Are people going to care about what I say, right? All of this, I had to trust that there'll be people on the other side that appreciate me for the real me, for the things that I put out. And there usually is, and in greater number and in greater fortitude. And you can do this with your life, where you thought, oh my God, there's no next step. But now you look back and you realize, oh, I did find another partner. And in many ways, this other partner was better for me. This happens to you in relationships, in jobs. So trust that there'll be people or opportunities on the other side. And this is part of what gives you the courage to quit. And the final thing that I'll say is, when it comes to quitting, you need to embrace the uncertainty and the shortness and the meaninglessness of life. This is going to help you actually quit as well, right? So let me give you a wild example. A completely not wild example, actually, but I meant wild in the sense that it seems completely unrelated. So when I try to create YouTube videos and I start to think really a lot about the video performing well, is this idea the right thing? Is this, I need to do it well, I need to live up to my own expectation, my subscribers' expectations, my friends' expectations, my employees' expectations. If I start to do all this, then it's very hard to actually make the thing, to actually make it any good. It's very hard to enter flow. It's very hard to actually just even record because there's so much pressure riding on the situation. But if you embrace the fact, okay, that life is short, that it doesn't really matter, that there's uncertainty, there's not much you can do. Some videos will do well, some videos won't do well. And I'm not going to obsess over all of this, what's going to happen after. I know it's kind of just uncertain, but I'll just let the chips fall where they may. Let the chips fall where they may. And there's an element of surrender. There's an element of surrender, and it's one of the most powerful things that you can do, where instead of trying to control every other metric variable that might happen when you quit, like, oh, if I quit, I need to have this ready and this ready and this ready and have this much saved up and this and this and that and that. You're just creating the next little safe box for you to jump into from the box that you feel trapped in. And sooner or later, you're going to jump into that little box. It's going to feel just as stinky inside that trap box. So in some ways, when you quit, of course, maybe you do want the savings. You want to take preparations. I'm not saying just quit your job cold turkey. But there will always be an element of uncertainty and anxiety. And if you embrace this instead of being scared of it, right? If you say life is short, a lot of things happen. There's ups and downs in life. Okay, this will be another experience where I grow from it. And you kind of just let surrender take over your life. I can't control what happens. I can't control if the video goes well or doesn't. I can't control if my pivot goes in this direction or another. But you know what? Let the chips fall where they may. And I trust that there'll be people on the other side. I think this is obviously, it's easier said than done, but I think this is something that doesn't get talked about enough. So I wanted to make this video for all of you who are maybe on the verge, like you're maybe just on that verge of like, should I quit? Should I not? Okay. Maybe you're thinking about a pivot, not quitting your job or something, but just a pivot maybe of whatever kind. And you're wondering about all these things. Hopefully some of the things that I said could help you process through it. That's it for today. Let me know what you thought about this video, if you have other topics you'd like me to go into, and I'll see you around.